Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is actually a bind-up of the first two books in the Lux series, so we've got both Obsidian and Onyx, and this was actually sent to me by Untitled Teen, who is actually sponsoring this video, which is awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about what this book is about exactly. So we have this girl named Katie, who is a book blogger. Way to make this book super relatable, Jennifer L. Armentrout. I applaud you. All the applauds. I mean, I'm technically not a book blogger, and booktubing is definitely a lot different than book blogging, but there's a lot of similarities, and it was so fun reading about Katie's love for books and just relating to her on that level. Anyways, Katie and her mom have just moved to this new town because they want a new start because Katie's dad had passed away, and so they're just looking for a fresh new start. And they just so happen to move in next door to a group of aliens. And that's all I'm going to tell you because I feel like if I go into any more details about what this book is about, I will definitely spoil the crap out of you, and I don't want to spoil this book for you because it's so freaking good. And now I'm going to tell you about my feels about this book because I got a lot of feels. I was not expecting to like this book at all. I am not a huge fan of paranormal romance. It's just a genre that I'm not that fond of, but I read this and I was so amazed at how good it was. Is this book perfect? No, but I had such a fun time reading it. At times I did find the romance in this book to be super frustrating, but it was also bearable and I was able to kind of overlook it, and other things within the story were able to overshadow it, like the amazing characters and the exciting plotline. Another thing that I loved about this book is that it's super fast-paced. It's one of those books that just completely grabs you from the start. I love when books are able to do that for you, when they just grab you and you start to lose track of time because of how invested you are in the story. That's when you know you've got a good book in your hands. I think the thing that I loved the most about this book were the characters. They were just hilarious and fantastic. We have characters like Katie, our main character, who is a book lover and also just super hilarious, and we've got side characters like Dee, who is just such an amazing supporting character. And then we've got Damien, and I didn't like Damien, I will say that. I was not a fan of Damien at all. But for the most part, the characters made this book super enjoyable. So that's all I have to say for the non-spoilery section. If you have not read this book, you should probably leave because I'm just going to spoil the crap out of you. So if you have not read this book, skedaddle. If you have read it, stay with me and let's discuss Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Okay, so I'm going to start off by talking about the characters because obviously the characters were my favorite part, so I want to talk about them. When we find out that Katie is a book blogger in the first paragraph, I know that I'm going to love her. Any character that is a book lover, I know I'm going to love. I feel like in a lot of books that I've read, the main character usually is a reader and loves books, but not to this extent, not to the point of having a book blog. That was just so awesome to me. I've never read a story about a book blogger, and it was just so fun to see her get excited about books. And there were so many relatable moments. We have these scenes with her mom where her mom just doesn't understand her love of books, which is super relatable for me. My parents don't necessarily understand my love for books either. They support it, but they don't understand it. We also have these moments where she gets excited when a book arrives at her house, which I myself just get so freaking excited when a book arrives at my house. It's just like the best feeling ever. And then she has that desire to just go to the library and get a library card and to just be surrounded by books. So it was just such a fun thing to read about a character that loves books as much as I love books. Now, when we're first introduced to Damon, I have this feeling that I'm not going to like Damon. And sure enough, I don't like Damon. I still don't like Damon. There were moments in this book when I was like, oh, maybe he's actually gonna be nice for a change. And then I'd flip the page and he'd be a butt face again. I love how nasty Katie got with him though. She didn't put up with his rudeness and she stood up for herself. And then we have Dee, who is just such a wonderful supporting character. I don't understand how she's siblings with Damon though, because they're complete opposites. She's such a nice and positive upbeat character, and then Damon is just crap. So it was really interesting to see that contrast. I also loved Clarissa and Lisa, I think that's how you say her name, but I just loved their obsession with Damon. Even though I didn't like Damon, it was just still funny to see them be so obsessed with Damon and to see them super excited for Katie and to see them constantly asking Katie how things were going with Damon. I thought that that was just really funny. Okay, let's talk about some specific plot points now. Let's talk about the library scene. We have Dee, who is pleading Katie not to go without her. But what does Katie do? She goes without her. Then we have this storm that begins to brew, and it's getting dark outside, and Katie goes outside and there's a stranger just standing there, and he's like, ma'am, I need some help. And what does Katie do? She helps the stranger, and then she turns her back on him. Who turns their back on a stranger in the middle of the night, in the middle of a storm? Who does that? Was your common sense switch turned off or something? So she turns her back on him for 1 second and he freaking attacks. What do you know? What do you know? Katie, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? You'd think that she would know in a sketchy situation like that to just leave the stranger alone, get in your car, and drive away. But no. Either way, Mr. Damon, alien boy, comes and saves the day. Thanks, Damon. The whole car wash scene was super uncomfortable for me. I don't know why. I think it was the fact that there's these two main characters, Damon and Katie, who are constantly bickering at each other, and sometimes they're happy with each other, that they're just drooling over each other. And it doesn't make sense to me because they're constantly back and forth with wanting to be with each other and then hating each other, and it just drives me crazy. Bah! Okay, the lunchroom scene. Oh. Katie is about to sit down next to Dee at lunch and Ash is all, oh no you don't, all the aliens get to sit here. And Damien, freaking Damien, joins in. He doesn't tell Ash to quit it. He doesn't tell her to stop. No, he just joins in and says, yeah Katie, you better not sit here. I was livid at this point. I had already had enough of Damien being a jerk, but at this point I was just done. So done. I was so proud of Katie for taking action, dumping her tray on Ash and Damien. I threw my book on the ground and I just started applauding. I was like, you go Katie, you go. I love how honest Katie is with Damon too. When he comes to apologize, she doesn't just act like everything's okay or just like push everything aside and act like everything's fine. She's honest with him and she tells him that she was upset and that she didn't like the way he was acting, and instead of just beating around the bush and just acting like everything was fine, she lets her feelings out, and I really appreciated that about her. I love the way that the aliens were described in this book. That is something that I just thought was so unique. I'll be honest, I haven't read very many alien books. In fact, the only other alien book I've ever read is The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey, and I don't remember how they were described in that book, honestly. It's been so long since I've read that book. But I just thought it was so cool that, like, they were made of light. The light form idea was just so cool. And I also thought it was so awesome how Dee's light form could, like, replicate other people. So she can basically make clones of people, and she was able to make a clone of Katie. That was just so amazing to visualize in my head. I was just so visually pleased at that point. Even though the Arum, I don't know how to pronounce that, the bad guys, even though they're bad, I still thought that their forms were awesome too, how they were like shadows. So it's kind of like you've got the light guys and then you've got the shadow guys. So the darkness versus light. Yes. Yes, super cool. I had kind of been wondering when I was first introduced to these books what Obsidian actually meant to the series, and so it was really interesting to find out that Obsidian is what got rid of the bad guys, basically, like destroyed them. And I also loved learning what Lux meant, because that's something that I also wanted to know about, like what did Lux mean, and that's kind of like the alien group, they're the Luxin. Super interesting, and I was really glad that that was revealed, because it would have frustrated me if Obsidian wasn't even mentioned in the book, but it was, thankfully. Okay, let's talk about the two epic battles, because I feel like there's two epic battles within this story. The first one is the prom one. Katie and Damien are on their way home, and they basically get attacked by the Arum, however you pronounce those guys. Damien tells Katie to take the obsidian and to run, as if she's gonna listen to him. The girl who turned her back on a stranger at nighttime in the storm, as if she's gonna listen to Damien. And she doesn't, obviously. She just runs and hides behind a tree. But I'm glad that she decided to stay, even though it wasn't the smartest decision on her part, and she probably could have gotten herself into a lot of trouble. I still was glad that she stayed, because obviously Damien needed her help, and she was able to go and save his butt. And then we have this final battle, I guess you can say, or like the main battle of the story. I thought it was really cool how Katie kind of sacrificed herself. She decided to be lit up and lead the Arum guy to the field. I thought that was really great and showed a lot about her character and how selfless she was. I'm still a little bit confused as to how Katie exactly saved everybody in that battle. I guess it's Dee and Damien's powers kind of coming together through her body to strike the guy dead. I don't know, it was a little bit confusing, but at the same time, I'm still kind of confused as to how that would even work, because Katie is clearly a human, unless she ends up being an alien, which I don't know if you can be turned into an alien. I don't know how that works, but I don't know, it was interesting, but I just don't quite get how it worked, or how it was possible but that's okay. That's why this is a work of fiction. Anything is possible in fiction. Also, I love how that next chapter, after the battle, starts with, "It literally hurt deep inside not being able to post my waiting on Wednesday." You just had this super epic battle. You just killed a guy. 2 aliens just push their powers through you, and you're sitting here worried about your blog. You're not reflecting on your life and how you just had this massive battle and your neighbors are aliens and what the actual heck. I would be freaking out if I was Katie, but no. She's over here worried about her book blog. I'm done. I'm so done. I'm really interested to see where the story goes. I'm definitely going to be continuing on with the series. It's just so much fun and just entertaining, and they're also just really fast reads. So I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on Obsidian, what you loved about it, what you didn't like about it, who was your favorite character. Let me know all of your thoughts down below, and I will see you guys soon with another video. Later.